Hello, everybody. The Write or Die Show. I am your host, Randi-lee. On today's episode, we're going to be talking to Kathryn Livingston, and we had so much fun. So I think you're going to really enjoy her. Welcome, Kathryn. I'm so excited to have you on the show.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
All right. We just want to start with who the heck you are. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, let's see. I am a writer. I am a mother. I live in New Jersey. I've been writing most of my life, and that's basically it. I'm just, I'm a yogini. I practice and teach yoga.
Wonderful.
And, thus the name of my memoir, Yin Yang Yogini. So
yes, and I haven't had a chance to read it yet, but I do have my copy, so I will be reading it. So
great.
when I do, of course, those book reviews will be out there for everybody to read and see how amazing it is.
Thank you.
How many kids do you have?
I have 3 sons. They're all in their 30s now. So they're young adults. They're adults. And yeah.
So totally different part of life as opposed to when they're little.
It's very, very different. It's kind of like a role reversal at this point, because now they're telling me what to do. I remember when I first started doing yoga and I was practicing trying to do a handstand, and I was trying to do this thing against the wall, and my son came by and said, "Stop doing that. You're going to hurt yourself."
Yeah. I still have not perfected my handstand. I still use the wall for mine.
Yeah, that takes a while. Yeah,
but it's getting there. It's getting a little straighter, a little firmer, so it's good.
Good. Yeah, you just have to keep at it.
Yeah.
I'm married to a classical musician, so that's kind of a different kind of a thing. He's a clarinet player.
And, very cool.
Yeah, so we raised our kids sort of, bohemian lifestyle as a writer and a musician, classical musician. So.
Oh, very cool.
A little unusual.
Yeah.
But we managed to send them all to college. I don't know how we paid for it, really.
The determination.
It was determination. Yeah, I think so.
Well, that's good though. And it seems that it's working out for you, right?
It's worked out really well. Yeah.
That's what I like to hear. Yeah. So tell us about what kind of mental health you've struggled with.
Well, my basic problem was anxiety. I had just a generalized anxiety my whole life. And I believe it stemmed from the way I was raised. My parents were very, very wonderful, loving parents, but they were also very fearful. So, every time I would go outside to play, my mother would call out the door, "Be careful," and I would always be afraid. And she was that way too. She was very afraid and very shy. And so I grew up with this fear that something bad was going to happen all the time. And then when I got older, it really began to affect my life. I was afraid to drive. I didn't get on an airplane for 27 years. I was just, always looking into the future and expecting something bad to happen and being worried about it. So I spent a lot of time just in that state of fearing the future and not being in the present moment.
Yeah, that's a very scary thing. So I don't often struggle with my anxiety. Mine's major depression is my issue, but I know my youngest anxiety is huge. And we're constantly having to battle the fact that if we go to the grocery store, it's okay. Nothing bad is going to happen. So I personally couldn't imagine doing it, but as a parent, I know how difficult it is to watch my child go through it.
Exactly. And that's actually what brought me to do something about it, was that I decided I did not want to pass this state onto my children. I didn't want them to absorb that feeling the way I did from my mother. So it was a turning point when my middle son was 15. He asked if he could go to England for the summer to take, just for a month, to take a class, a course.
Yes.
And I was terrified to put him on an airplane, and I was really, really obsessing over it. And I said, when he asked, I said, well, we'll think about it.
Yeah.
And I was talking to a good friend of mine, and she said, you really need to go speak to a therapist about this problem. And
Mhm.
that's when I thought to myself, you know what? She's right. If I don't get some help, my kids are going to end up the way I am. So that inspired me to go get some help from a therapist.
All right. So do you mind sharing a little bit about what you learned from going to the therapist?
Sure. Well, first of all, I was terrified to go to a therapist. I just thought, I'd never been to one before. I didn't know what, I only knew what to expect from watching movies.
Mhm.
I just was really afraid, because I was afraid of everything, to go to the therapist. But I went mainly because I wanted, to help my kids as well as myself. I just didn't want to pass this on. And this lovely woman came out and she sat down and talked with me. And I told her about my childhood and this and that and my fears. And she said, after a few sessions, she said, well, we could either, we could give you some medication or you could try yoga. And I was like, yoga? I had never, yeah, never considered yoga. I wasn't interested in yoga at all. I didn't even know what it was. And I said, well, do you do yoga? And she said, yes. So I was like, okay, well, let me try that first. So strangely enough, there was a yoga studio that had opened very recently on the, like just around the corner from my house.
Oh,
And so
convenient.
I got the friend who had told me to go to the therapist to go with me, because of course I was afraid to go to yoga.
Yep.
And I went to yoga, and from the very first class, I felt a shift. I really felt like this is something that could help me. I just felt a peacefulness and a calmness when I walked into the studio that I had never really felt anywhere. And so I took that advice from the therapist as like a prescription. And that
Mhm.
was something I was decided I would commit myself to do every week, 2 or 3 times a week. So I just went, for a year nonstop. And then I really saw how it was changing me. And people were even saying to me, what, you seem different. What are you doing? And I just really noticed, and I was able to, I did send my son to England to do his study. That was,
I'm sure he was happy to have went.
yes, he had a great time, and that was really good. And so bit by bit, I continue. I've now been practicing yoga for 16 or 17 years, and I teach yoga. So it really, really changed my life. And I don't know what I would have done otherwise. I guess I would have just kept on being nervous and scared
Do
of everything.
you have a favorite yoga pose?
Well, I really love child's pose, which is, one
Yeah,
of the
that's a good
easiest poses, but it's so relaxing. And um, you just get down on your knees, and then you put your arms out, you stretch your arms out, and your belly
one.
goes where your heels, and you just kind of fold into yourself, and it's so calming and so
Yeah.
peaceful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I really like your child's pose. I really love pigeon.
Oh,
Just
I love
my
pigeon
hips
too.
are always so tight. So I really
Yeah,
love pigeon.
I do too. I love it.
For
It's
anybody who is watching us right now or listening and you haven't tried yoga, there's so many different YouTube channels you can watch to find it. And honestly, it's not just good for your body, but like Kathryn was saying, it's so good for your mind as well. I mean, that's how I started, kind of the same thing a little bit. I got into yoga more for the stretching than for the mental part at first, but then I noticed the
yeah.
mental shift. And same with you. I went and I was like, I'm gonna teach it now. So
Yeah. Oh, I didn't know that you did yoga, so that's wonderful.
yeah, I totally understand that shift from just doing it to wanting to teach it. I
Hmm.
don't teach very often. Monday nights I do an online class and that's about it, but
Oh, that's great.
I love it. It's so
Yeah,
relaxing.
it is. And what I really noticed was a big shift was the breathing techniques,
Yes.
because I used to get so tense that my breath would be shallow and fast. And, that's why I couldn't drive on highways. I would just be like terrified.
Yeah.
And then when I started learning how to slow my breath down and how to take long, deep breaths and using these different techniques, I can't even return to that state with my breath the way it used to be. Not that I'd want to.
Yeah.
I actually, one time I got on a highway that I never would go on before, and I was driving along and I was thinking, wow, I don't feel nervous at all. What's going on here? And then I
Wow.
started to go like, oh, maybe I can return to that, just see what it's like. And I literally could not do it. I couldn't
But
work
that's so
myself.
good that you put in. Yay. That's
I couldn't work myself
amazing.
into a state of panic because my breath was just too calm.
Yeah. I want to pause here for a second and talk about breath a little bit more because it is so important. And I'm also a competitive kickboxer. And before I started doing yoga, catching my breath in between rounds was so much harder. Now that I do yoga, it's really easy. And I feel like I can control my breathing within 15 seconds or 20 seconds of a round stopping, which is really important in that sport.
Mm,
But I love what you were saying, that is that fast breathing. So a lot of people don't even realize how they're breathing. So I
right.
encourage everybody who's listening right now to take some time and think about, how am I breathing? And I'm just going to take a quick sec here. And a lot of people, they'll breathe just into their shoulders too. So if you want to look in the mirror at yourself and go and see if you're breathing in your shoulders, it'll look something like this.
Mm,
Well, a lot of times if you tell somebody, take a deep breath, that's what they do. They take it, but they think that they have to like um just explode in the top, right? Just
right.
expand the top part. Whereas what you actually want is to push that breath down into your belly.
Into the belly. Yeah.
What I want everybody to do right now who is watching is take a deep breath. If you can, again, do this in the mirror so you can see how you're breathing. It's really good. So if you notice that you're breathing out here, that means that you are not in a state of being relaxed. You are not calm. Something is going on, whether it's anxiety or something else. So what I want everybody to do right now is put your hands kind of on the sides, right below your rib cage, and try to focus that breath down into that belly, into the diaphragm. We got to push that breath down. So here we go. And you should feel everything here expanding in a 360 way. And then a huge big release. And you can just barely see it in the camera, but my hands just gently moved, right? So we're going to do it one more time. Ready? And I'm glad I wore a black shirt today because you could see that little bit of
Yeah.
expansion. So thank you so much, Kathryn, for bringing up
My
breathing.
pleasure. Yeah, it's so important.
This is the first time that somebody has really, like, it's been mentioned, but this is the first time we really kind of delved into it a little deeper. And that's a great technique that anybody can use. If you're starting to feel yourself have that heavy breathing, you can go, okay, stop. Where is my breathing going? And
Exactly.
it will really help.
Yeah. And a lot of people think yoga is just about the postures and doing the different poses, but there's so much more to yoga that, I once I got into it, it was the breathing techniques and meditation, and I'm into mantra. So, there's so many tools within yoga, besides the postures
Yes.
that you
And
can use.
yeah, exactly. And what I just talked about right there is just one breathing technique. There are so many of them out there. They've got like lion's breath and bee's breath and all sorts of things that you can use.
Right. Yeah.
Do you have one that you really like?
Well, alternate nostril breathing is one that a lot of people are aware of because it's very common one that is used. But the one that I even like better than alternate nostril is when you just breathe through the left nostril. You just block off the right and breathe long and slow and deep only through the left. And that is the calming side. And it really is hooks you into the parasympathetic nervous system, and it really calms you down. So I use that one. It's good to do before you're going to sleep if you're having trouble falling asleep. So that probably is one of my favorites.
Awesome. Yeah, I remember learning about the alternate nostril and even the one nostril. And for me, I hate it.
Really?
But my nose gets stuffy really fast, and I think it's
Okay.
just my nose is really dry. So
Yeah.
when I try to do it, it just doesn't work for me. And that's really important for people to understand as well, is that I hate it, you love it, another person might love it, another person might hate it. So keep trying different things.
Exactly. Yeah, it's true of all about yoga. It's like certain people love to do, a headstand. Other people refuse to do one, or the breathing techniques. Some people can't just sit and meditate. It's very difficult for them. So you just find what you can that works for you. And the same thing with finding a teacher. There are
Yeah.
so many different styles of teaching, so many different styles of yoga that
Yeah.
you can't just go to one yoga class and say, oh, I hated that, it was horrible. You have to, the best way anyway is to try out some different styles and some different teachers until
Yeah.
you find the right fit, because it really has to do with finding the right fit.
That's a great point. And I know I've talked to other people about that in regards to finding a therapist, but
Mhm.
it's the same thing with finding a yoga class. I always tell people who inquire about my teaching style, I'm like, I'm not the super quiet meditation-y type instructor. So if that's what you're looking for, you're probably not going to like me doing it. And
Mhm.
that's fine, right? Because I
Right.
know my style and I want them to do what's best for them.
Exactly.
But
Yeah.
if they're looking for more of like a stretching, strength building kind of, not, I think all yoga is fun, but like that more fast paced type,
Mhm.
then maybe they'd like my class,
Yeah.
right?
And some people like hot yoga, they like to practice in a hot studio.
Yeah.
I tried
I
that.
haven't
And
tried.
I hated it. Have you
Oh,
tried hot
I
yoga?
I haven't tried yet, but I don't know if I'd like that sweating while you're like
I
doing
did
it.
not. I gave it, I think I went to 2 or 3 classes and it was not for me. But I know people who love it, absolutely love it. And, it just depends on what resonates with you.
That is such an important lesson for people because so many people they try one thing one time and they're like, oh no, I'm done. I don't like it. But you
Yeah.
gotta try again. It's like even with food. So my mom now, so now I'm in my 30s, and when my mom comes over for dinner and I make something, I've been making my youngest loves rice. So I make a lot of rice and chicken. And my mom almost every time has to go, when you were younger, you never would have eaten this. I'm like, okay, that was funny, like maybe the first 2 times you said it, but like I got it. I was picky as a kid.
Yeah, as a lot of kids are.
Yeah, but we grow as people, so we got to try things again.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, my kids were very, very picky eaters, and now, and they were, they wanted to eat like chicken nuggets and French fries, and I tried to always give them healthy food, but they would fight against the broccoli and this and that. But
yeah.
now they eat organic. One of them is becoming a vegetarian. They've
Okay.
totally changed.
Yeah.
Now they'll ask me, Mom, is this organic lettuce? Is this farm raised or wild caught salmon? They want to know all the details of the food that they never would eat before. So
Yeah. It's so funny when kids grow up and then all of a sudden they're like completely different people.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
very amusing. Yeah.
So you mentioned mantras.
Mm.
Can you explain, because not everybody knows what they are, can you explain what that is?
Well, it's the repetition of a sound or a word. Usually it's in Sanskrit, or sometimes it's in another language like Gurmukhi if you practice Kundalini yoga, which I do. And you just repeat the words or the phrases over the sounds really over and over again. Sometimes you're chanting along with music. You can get beautiful music to go with most mantras, or you can do it without. And one particular one that really resonated with me was you touch your fingers together and you say sa ta na ma. Do you know that
That's
one?
the one I like too. All right, we're gonna take 30 seconds here and
Okay.
walk people through what this is because and you are going to walk us through doing this mantra.
Okay. Well, you take your thumb and you press it to each finger. So on sa, you would press your thumb to your index finger. Ta, the third finger. Na, your ring finger, and then ma, you press your pinky finger. And what these words mean, it's the creation cycle. So it's basically um, birth, or sometimes we say infinity, and then life, and then transformation, and then rebirth. So that's what the words mean. and you simply press your fingers together. Now, there's a whole extra things that you do in Kundalini yoga where you envision light coming in and going out, but you don't have to do all that. If you simply just press, you're standing in line at the grocery store and you start pressing your fingers together, there's something about this process, the acupressure points, and it relates to what's happening in the brain, that it's very calming. And actually what happened after my second year into yoga, I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And a friend of mine who owned actually the yoga studio I was going to, she came over and taught me this. I had no idea what the words meant. She just said, oh, when you go for your surgery tomorrow, try this. And she told me, press your fingers together and say these words. And so I did that. And it was so helpful. It really calmed me down. And now, anytime I'm in a situation where I feel a little bit anxious, I can use this Sata Nama. It's called Kirtan Kriya in Kundalini Yoga. But, and there are many other mantras, but that one is one of my favorites. And I love what the words mean. Just love that process of pressing your fingers like that.
That's what got me. I loved the feeling,
Mm-hmm.
pressing the fingers, even if, like you're saying, you're standing in the line of the grocery store, even if you don't want to say words out loud
Yeah.
because you don't want people to look at you. I love the feeling of just pushing those fingers together.
Yeah, it's very calming.
It is. Oh, wonderful. I'm going to say people have gained a lot of tools. I mean, they always gain a lot of tools, but we're doing them at the same time as we're talking for this interview, which is kind of a neat way to do it, because other times we just talk about them, because I mean, we can't just sit down and all journal together. So
it's so fun because I had no idea that you were into yoga at all. So this is just a really nice surprise.
Yes. It's fun when you don't know what's going to come. I love the surprise of either what a guest says or if I can say something to surprise them. It's more fun, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when I was reading your pre-interview questions, because I do send these out, even though I don't stick to the format at all, as you can see, I just like to get a little bit of a sense of you so that there might be something that sticks out. And there was something that stuck out in yours, is when I asked about stigma, you had written something along the lines of you hadn't experienced it because it was easy to hide.
Yeah.
Why did you feel the need to hide it?
Well, I just did not want people to think I was like a neurotic, nervous wreck, and it was kind of my natural way to just seem like I was. I mean, I didn't seem in public as if I was nervous, but inwardly I kept all of this inside. So, even I had some social anxiety. So if I was going to a party or something, that would really terrify me. But then when I got there, I would be okay because I would just maybe find one safe person to talk to that I thought, I could be okay just talking to. I was never the life of the party or anything like that. But, I just kind of kept it inside. And that was probably just making things worse because I couldn't really be my authentic self.
Yeah. I love how you said that, because that's part of the stigma. Even if you're not feeling the stigma from outside that you can notice, clearly you were feeling a type of stigma. It just wasn't in your face, it was inside of you. But
Yeah.
you had this part of you that thought, if I tell people, this is what they will think.
Right.
And that was actually the same as me, is I didn't want to show my weakness. That's how I kept thinking about it, as a weakness, because I didn't want people to see me as this, right? But like you said, you can't be your authentic self. Now I'm telling everybody, it's fine, I got depression, I'm on pills, blah, 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 right?
Yeah, now I don't hide it at all. And I found that so many other people have the same fears and have similar problems. So why not share those and, open up about it?
Then
But you were talking about affirmations before. What I used to do a lot of negative self-talk. So if I was going out somewhere, then before I would go, it would be like, oh, you look so ugly, or oh, you're so fat, or or you can't handle this, or I'd be saying horrible things to myself. Yoga taught me to just let go of all of that stuff. So now if there's any kind of talk that I'm saying to myself, it'll be, oh, you're strong, you're courageous, you're peaceful, you're calm. Those are the words that we say to ourselves once, we flip it around.
Yeah.
Those negative things are not helping.
No, not at all. That's beautiful that you do that. Yeah, I've in a previous episode, if anybody's watched, I talked about the affirmations that I actually have written on walls around my house, so that they're not just for me, they're for everybody who sees them.
Yeah.
That's really important. And something really important about affirmations as well is that you're saying them to yourself. So it's I am, right? And you never want to use them in a negative way. It's not I am not, I don't know, I am not lazy, right? That's all your brain hears then is I am lazy. It doesn't catch the not. So it's I am energetic. So turning those words around, which can be really hard because we're so used to negative self-talk.
Right. Yeah. It takes some practice, but once you get the hang of it, then you'll think, why did I ever, what was I doing?
Exactly. And you can be more authentic, which is really important. And I want to talk about that a little bit more, being your authentic self, because I've got this beautiful orange lipstick on and I love it. But before, I would have been self-conscious about what other people thought of it. I don't care now. Now I'm like, I like it, so I'm going to wear it. And I've been on this hunt. I've been on this hunt for green lipstick. All right. I really want it. I got to find it. I found a company. They don't ship to Canada. I was real sad. So finding green lipstick. But the point of me sharing this green lipstick story is because there's going to be people that look at me and go, okay, lady's got green lipstick on. I don't care.
No, you don't care anymore.
I'm being true to me. For me, I want fun big glasses. I want exciting colors for my lips, right? This is how I'm expressing myself. I used to have purple hair. It all ran out, so now it's blonde. But that's my authentic self. And it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. This is
not at all. Not at all. Yeah.
So I love that you brought that up. Is there something that when you finally came to the realization of, I don't care what anybody else thinks, is there something that kind of changed in you? Maybe like an outward, hey, orange lipstick or something else?
I can't really think of one specific thing, but I just think my aura just kind of changed. Like, I don't know how to explain that, but
yeah,
I just gave off a different energy because people saw that I was relaxed with who I am relaxed with who I am. So for instance, in the past, if I thought I was going to be interviewed for a radio show or a podcast, I probably would have been hysterical for at least a month in advance. I wouldn't have been able to sleep. I would have worried about what I was going to wear. I would have been like totally freaking out. And like now I'm just like, oh, this is fun. I'm excited. I get to talk to someone new. Yay! Now it's not like something to be afraid of. So I just feel like that's a shift, in energy, whereas I used to be so fear-based. Now I'm more like, what can I learn from this? What, this is exciting. This is interesting. This is nothing to be afraid of. So
that's really good. And you probably didn't even notice it, but it probably did show in your body language. Because when we are fearful, right, we tend to close in on ourselves.
Yeah.
Maybe standing like this or, whatever it might be. But now that you're not so fearful, you can stand up.
Exactly. It's very different. Everything feels different to me now because I guess I'm just comfortable. I'm comfortable with who I am. I mean, maybe that part of it is just I'm getting older and, I don't have some of the hangups I had when I was a young girl, but just I'm more comfortable with who I am. And I do attribute a lot of that to yoga. So
yeah, that is so important. What would you tell somebody who's listening right now that's experiencing anxiety?
Well, yoga is not for everyone, but I would really encourage them to look into it. And as you said, you can go on YouTube, you can find all kinds of yoga classes and yoga styles, and you could do a little investigation, and see if anything appeals to you. I just think it's a wonderful tool for somebody who has anxiety. Although I understand that not every style is for every person, so you do have to, look around. I was very lucky that I found an absolutely amazing teacher right away,
Yeah.
and we're still very close friends. And
Oh, good.
yeah,
And it's also, it just popped into my head because I mentioned the online, which I know you're just mentioning because I had said it earlier, but a big part of anxiety, and you were explaining this, was going to someplace new. And I know for my youngest, leaving the house is a big issue. So if you're really scared to try something that you've never tried before, you don't want people to look at you and think, oh, they don't know what they're doing, then doing it from home to start is a really good way, because then you can kind of get the poses down and feel a little bit more confident when you do go to a live yoga class.
definitely. Yeah, I don't think that was even possible back when I started, but I wish I had done at least a little research, so I wouldn't have felt so self-conscious, because I did feel very self-conscious when I started out. But now with Zoom classes and YouTube and everything else, that's a great way to get started.
Yeah. And that way, if you fall down in pose, and I mean, I teach it and sometimes I fall down. My tree pose is sometimes sturdy and sometimes I'm getting chopped down.
Me too.
But when you are anxious and you're worried and you got negative self-talk, when you fall down, it's not just I fall down, I get back up. It's I fall down and now you're a horrible person and you can't do anything right, right? And that's what my brain used to tell myself too. So,
Too, yeah.
I mean, we got to get back up. I've learned that the hard way, as most of us learn our lessons the hard way. But yeah, doing it online gives you that ability to fall down and not have anybody know that you fell down.
Right. And now I just laugh when I fall down, even if I'm teaching a class. Like you
Yeah.
said, if I'm on my tree and I fall out of my tree, I just, it's yoga. It's fun. We're not here to stress ourselves out. We're here to do the opposite of that. So this whole, competition and comparing and all of that, that's not yoga. So
No, exactly. So, wow, this has been such a good talk and time flew by. Where can people find your book? And what is it called for everyone?
it's called Yin Yang Yogini, and you can find it on Amazon. And, Barnes and Noble has it, any book dealer has it.
Wonderful. And where can people follow you?
I have an author page on Facebook. I'm on Twitter, and I have a blog called, it's just liveright.blogspot.com.
Excellent.
I'm on Instagram, Kathryn Yogini. So
all of those links will be down below in the description. Hit Kathryn up, give her a follow, give her some thumbs up, check out her book, especially if you're into yoga already, then it's right up your alley. And if you're not, maybe do some research for her first and then go get her book if it makes you feel more comfortable. Well, thank you so very much, Kathryn.
it was great to meet you.
Bye.
Thank you.
I hope everybody really enjoyed that episode listening to Kathryn. And I hope that you did those skills along with us, with the breathing and the mantra. It's great skills that you can use whenever you're feeling that anxiety or depression or whatever you're dealing with. When you feel it coming out, you can do that. And again, take a look in the mirror, see how you're breathing. Are you breathing in your shoulders? Or are you breathing in that belly? Because it does make a huge difference. All right. I wanted to let everybody know that we do have a merch store now. The link will be in the about section of the YouTube channel. So if you want to support the channel, we've got some merch available, as well as a Patreon page that you can go. And on that Patreon page, there's some behind the scenes interviews with the authors that have come on, some little extras that you can watch. So of course, as always, remember that the only way to end the stigma of mental health is to speak openly and honestly. Hit that subscribe button, show some love to the channel, make sure you share this out, and I'll see everybody next time.